Hello, hello. Welcome to day 7 of Color Month 2024. Welcome to everyone who's watching live. I'm going to go over a little bit of housekeeping before we jump right into today's card. There are a couple of links down the video description for 2 different card events or online classes that I'm going to be teaching at. The first one is coming up this April and it's Hero Arts Spring Stamp Along. I think it's only $45 and it's a 2-day event. It's a lot of fun. It's one of those events where they, if you want, you can purchase the products that the teachers will be using, or they really encourage you to use what you have. So it's one of those ones where you can just show up and use whatever products you have. There's details down below. The second one is the Pink Fresh card event in August. It's also a 2-day event. And that one is one where they will mail you all of the products that they are using, and they are brand new products for the event. And it's a little more expensive because you're getting everything that the teachers are using, and they extended registration just by 1 day. So today, I believe, is the last day that you can register. So I really wanted to let you all know, since I was going live, that you can still do that. Okay, so let's get into today's color combos. So if you're watching live, this is going to be fun because we're going to pick out the color combos again. Are you ready for this? Okay, we're going to pick between these 2 color combos. I'm going to be using the same card idea that I've got planned, no matter what, what combo I'm using. I just have water all over this. I don't know what happened. I'm like, dry that off. I'm going to be watercoloring, obviously, so I've got water on my desk. But anyway, here are the 2 combos. You notice they've got numbers up in the top corner. You are going to choose which color combo you'd like me to use tonight. I think both of these would work well with the stamp set that I have planned to use. So feel free to make your choice. I'm going to leave it open for just a minute or 2 while I talk about the stamps I'm going to be using today. So the stamp set I'm using, well, gosh, you guys still need to see that to vote, right? I guess I'll have to zoom out. I'll have to zoom out, and we'll put the combos like this over here. You can still choose between those 2 combos, and this is the stamp set I'm going to be using. This is SSS Stamps Checking In. Stamp set has some fun flowers. The stamp set I got, the printed label makes everything look really thick and weird. It's actually much more dainty lines when you stamp them. So you'll see that difference when I get into the actual card itself. But I thought this was such a good stamp set. This is one that I did that has a lot of kind of hard greetings, like difficult greetings, things that you might have difficult to say, things you might have difficulty saying. I can't talk tonight. It's hard to form a sentence. So anyway, I thought it'd be really nice to just kind of have a card that's kind of difficult, have it on hand. I call it my insurance policy, so that maybe I won't ever have to use it. But, we'll see. All right, I'm going to take a look at the poll here. Oh no, it's like 55-45. Okay. Well, I've got 94 votes, so I'm going to go ahead. Well, maybe I'll just wait till it hits 100. I'll wait till it hits 100 votes, and then I'm going to call it. 97 votes. There's still some coming in. Numbers are oscillating. Come on, 3 more people. I'm going to close it up when it gets to 100 votes. Let's see here. Okay, it's looking like combo 389. 101. Okay, yeah, 58% wants 389. Hello. 391. What am I talking about? We're going with combo 391. I actually closed it, and it was at exactly 60% of those watching live want this combo. So we're going to go with that one. And like I said, we're going to do watercoloring tonight. I have a vague idea in my mind of what I want to do, but getting these colors for this painting is going to be perfect. I mean, come on. It's like flowers and flowers. It's going to be great. I'm going to start out, well, first of all, let's sketch a card idea. because let's get that down so we know where we're headed. Having a plan is always good, I say. Okay, so I had this thought of maybe doing a card that had like a really big circle cut out of the front panel, and then behind it would be like the floral stamping. So let's just imagine that this is all like my watercolor flowers, right? The stamp set is called Checking In. So let's pretend that those are all flowers or whatever. And then I thought maybe I'd group two greetings together, like stack them. So maybe it could be like, there are no words, I'm so very sorry for your loss. Or, hey, just checking in, I'm here for you. There's a get well soon down here. We could do get well soon, sending hope and healing. There's a lot of really good like groupings of greetings that could go well. So let's see. I'm thinking maybe I could maybe even move the circle further up near the top. So we're going to change that. And then I'll have the larger greeting right there, and then the little one right below. So really simple design, just, you know, not a lot happening, but I think it could be interesting. So I kind of want to change it. Like, how can I change this so it's a little bit more dynamic? Okay, because that is really straightforward, and maybe I don't want it completely straightforward. So let's try something different. I'm thinking 5x7 card. So, I'm looking at the images. How can I change it up? And here's last week's card, obviously. Let's see here. I kind of want the flowers to take center stage. So, and I'm thinking I could probably stamp this and then rotate it and stamp it again, and I'd have a pretty good, because like the shape of this, I think I could, you know, puzzle piece them together. Let's see here. I do have the stamps that go with it, or the dies, I mean, and that does have this large shape that I could cut out. So what if the card was like, it had these two edges that came in, and then there was like a dramatic dark background or even ink blending in the background, and then you've got the flowers coming in off of each side. And then maybe the greetings down here, and they would be die cut. That is a possibility. Do I want to do that? I'm sort of just like trying to think this through. I don't want to do just like a straightforward flowers on the background, let's put a greeting on top, because I feel like I've done that a lot. In fact, I think you're getting a card like that come Wednesday. So I want to change it up and make it a little bit different. Okay. Oh, I just had an idea. What if, let's see, there are 6 colors in the color palette. What if I took the image or the stamping of all the flowers and I did like monochromatic paintings on 6 squares? I like this idea. And then I'll have the greeting on the die cut. I love this idea. I love this for us. Okay, so it would be all 6 of these colors, but it would be like just a monochromatic version of the painting within each square. So it's kind of like a grid. That could be really fun. Let's do it. All right, so we've got quite a bit of stamping to do. Okay. There's so many of you in the chat right now that are unfortunately saying that you could use a card like this for yourself or for people you know. So it's hard times these days. I feel so bad. Okay, watercolor paper, because we are going to be watercoloring. So I'm going to use my favorite, which is Fabriano Artistico Extra White. And put that down. And I'll do what I was thinking of before, like have it nestled into each other, and then I can section it off into 6 sections and then paint each one. I like this idea. I'm sticking it a little bit differently. Also means I don't need to be particularly careful with positioning of the stamps. Like if I accidentally overlap them, it's like not going to be a big deal. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stamp this. Actually, I'm going to tape it to a board when I do my stamping. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp it a little bit away from the edge. And let's see, do I want to heat emboss? Do I want to? Or do I want to just do it in black? I think I do want to heat emboss. I'm going to heat emboss in white. So I'm going to prep the area with an anesthetic powder tool, and then I'm using Versamark ink to stamp my image. Get that pressed down all over. And because it's watercolor paper and it's textured, I'm actually going to stamp it twice. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and put my embossing powder on this now. I'm going to move my MISTI so I don't get powder all over it. I'm going to put it on now so that I can, oh, and I don't even remember where I stamped. Oh, crap. Well, I guess I'll find out. Because I want to be able to see when I'm stamping. Okay, it was this side right here. Good to know. And it's such a big image that's stamped, so I've really got to move my paper around. Okay, so you can kind of see where the image is. I'm going to use my heat tool. I'm going to let it heat up away from the project first, and then I'll bring it in. I'm just watching for as soon as it melts, move my heat tool away. Okay, so now I can see where it's hard for you guys probably on camera, but I can see where it's at now. So now I can stamp, you know, like a different spot. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and rotate it, and it should totally clear this other side. All right, make sure that's down in that corner. Oh yeah, we're totally good. And I'll stamp this again. Make sure that's down in that corner really well. And then stamp a second time. Okay. Move my MISTI out of the way and come in for some more embossing. All right, that looks like a really good impression. So I'll hit this with my heat tool. It's a little bit hard to see, especially, it's not even going to focus on it. There's like, the camera's not picking it up. So you're just going to have to wait until I start painting to see it. Okay. I'm going to clean off my stamp and put it away really quick. Okay, so now I'm going to be doing 6 sections of color. Those are the colors again. I'm trying to decide if I want to tape off the sections or just use a pencil. I think a pencil would be fine. Okay, and then I can just like cut it out with some dies or something. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Okay, I'm going to use a ruler. My big ruler from SSS Stamp is missing, so I'm going to use my regular T-square. Actually, you know what? I really do want to use a square die and just get this figured out before, because I think it'd be so much easier. All right, so I'm going to come find some square dies. I'm just trying to find a good square. This one works. It's just from SSS Stamp and it's called Single Square. So, you know, single square. Perfect. And then I can just pick different sections and I can just like kind of like trace around it, and then I'll use it for die cutting later. Okay. I think this could be a really pretty section up here. So I'm not going to go right around the die. I'm going to kind of go around it. I might even have to do another panel. Okay, let's do this one right here. Do another one right here. These don't have to be precise because I'll use the die to get it precise later. All right, we'll get this one right here. And then we'll get this last one down here in this corner. There's basically just enough of the 2 stamped images to get six square sections. All right. So I'm going to put this away for later. And let's get out my watercolor paints. My stamp set away for now. And these are the colors we're aiming for. So we're going to have to do a little bit of color mixing to try to get the colors we want. I'm gonna get out another piece of watercolor paper. so I can do some color testing. Unfortunately, I don't have a scrap of watercolor paper to use right now. Otherwise, I would use that. Okay, let's do some color mixing and figure out these colors. Well, one of the colors I think I almost have right off the bat, like right there. I can almost use that color like just straight out of the palette. All right, I'm gonna get a paper towel just so I can make sure I don't have paint all over the place. That'll probably still happen anyway. Okay, and maybe we'll just go straight in order. All right, so that green is down here. I think I can, it looks like there might be just a little bit more blue in it. So I'm actually just going to pick up a little bit of that blue over there and kind of mix it in. Yeah, there we go. Gonna fade that out. Yeah, in fact, that's almost both greens, right? That's almost both greens. That's crazy. Okay, so let's see. I think it would be easier to do like as I mix each color, then I'll go ahead and do that square. I think that makes sense. Okay, so let's do this dark green square. And this will be fun because you guys will finally be able to start seeing the color. All right, and I have a size 6 brush right now. I might have to switch to a smaller brush. Okay, I'm just getting a little bit of water down on this area. My paintbrush still has a little bit of that green in it, so it's kind of transferring over. Okay, I'm gonna mix up some more of that color. Sorry, it's off screen for a moment here. All right, and then I'm just going to start, I think I'm just going to start dropping this in. In fact, maybe I'll have it just sort of start to fade up. Until it's the most pale up at the top. Yeah, I think that looks really pretty. I'm going to drop just a little more color in down here at the bottom. In fact, I'm going to drop more color in the flowers and the leaves. Just so it differentiates between the flower and the background. And because I did heat embossing, it's going to kind of hold that paint in the section so it doesn't escape. I think it works really well for stuff like this. Okay, I'm going to let that just dry as is, and we're going to move on to the next color. So we're trying to do a more pale green, so even more pale. So I'm just going to water this down the same color quite a bit. It kind of seems like it's the same color. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to do one that's like lots more dark, or I don't know. We'll see. These colors are going to be interesting too down here because they're also similar. Okay, so I'm just going to come in and get this – coming down really pale. just so there's like hardly any color. Just coming all the way down. Shirley, yes, this was Brutus Monroe alabaster. Yes, that's correct. Okay, let's see, how do I want to do this? Because I don't want to lose the lighter sections. So maybe I'll just bring in just a second little layer of color. Or I guess I could kind of change up my plan for the card, and I could bring in a little bit of yellow on this one. Like it's mostly that green, but I'll have a little bit of yellow as well. I think that could be interesting. Okay. I think it kind of works. One's dark, one's light. I think it kind of works. Okay, let's go for yellow now. All of my yellows, they aren't quite this toned. It's all of the yellows I have are super, super bright. So I'm going to set this aside for a moment, and we're going to come back to our color mixing. And I've got two yellows up here. One is much too lemon yellow and the other is more golden. Like here are the two yellows. So I think if I use this color and just tone it down with a tiny bit of purple, which is its complementary color, I think I might get a nice gold shade. All right, so I'm gonna bring that right down here. And I'm just gonna pick up just a tiny bit of that purple to see how that just toned that down. So I think that's a much closer shade to what's happening over here. All right, let's get this kind of faded out. Yeah, I think that, I mean, it still looks a little bit bright on camera, but in person, that matches a little bit more. In fact, I might even add a little more purple. I need a bigger, in fact, I'll just bring this purple that's down here. There we go. All right, I'm going to bring in a little more of that purple. That just tones it down just a tiny bit. Oh yeah, that's even better. Okay. So let's move our color swatching to the side, and we'll do this last one with this yellow. So I'm going to do what I did before. Actually, you know what? My water is really green from the last one, so I'm going to change out my water really quick. Like, look at that. It's like super green. I'm going to change out my water so that I don't have any of that green contaminating the yellow. And just for good measure, since I'm at the sink, I'm going to bring over another cup of water, and then I don't have to swap water containers quite as often. Okay. There we go. Much better. All right, I'm going to get that whole area wet like I did with the green one. And then I'm going to bring in that yellow, and let's do it from this end. And then I can just get more water on my brush and start to just fade this up. Okay, Looks like my pencil is sort of bleeding into things. All right, I'm going to grab more of that full strength yellow, and I'm just going to start dropping it into these areas. It's a little hard to see up here, so I think I might bring in a little more of that background right here so you can kind of see where it is. And then I can drop the more intense yellow in these areas. So basically we're playing with like a monochromatic look for each one of these squares. And we're also playing with heat emboss resist because the heat embossing is kind of containing each one of these colors. All right. So now we're going to move on to this section down here. And it looks like we have kind of like a slightly muted orange, kind of like a slightly muted tomato red, and then a soft rose shade. So let's start with orange. So looking at this, the color that is closest to that orange, I would say is probably, well, look at that red. I've got one over here that kind of matches it. So we can just use full strength of that red. But for the orange, I think I'm going to have to do this orange and tone it so it's not quite as saturated and bright. And I will tone it with its complementary color, which is blue. So that's what I'm going to do. And this is the color we're going for. I'm going to move my project out of the way so I don't accidentally get paint on it. And here are the colors we're going for. So let's see. It's this. No, that's not the right red, is it? Or the orange. That is the right orange. Wow. Okay. So bringing this orange down right here. Mixing up a nice big puddle of that orange. And then I think I'm going to tone it with a little bit of this blue down here. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of that blue. That might be too much. Yeah, it's turning brown. I'm going to have to add more orange back in. Someone just gave me a thumbs down right now. Is it because you don't like the color mixing? All right, add a little more orange in there. Bring it back to orange, not so brown. And a lot of this will depend on like how much paint I use, how much I fade it back. All right, I'm gonna add a little more of a different orange just to see if it brightens it up a little bit. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna add more of this. It's this like really like nuclear mac and cheese color. Okay, I think that's a little bit closer to the orange shade. Let's try that out. It's a little dark, a little saturated, but if we fade it out, yeah, there we go. I think it's got like the right kind of tone for the orange, maybe even just a little yellow added to it would make it look a little more orangey. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I like that. I think that's gonna work. Okay, so I'll set this to the side, and I'm going to do what I did with these previous ones, and I'm just going to give it kind of like a good wash of water. And then I'll bring in that color. And remember, I don't want it very strong at first. I want it to be pretty pale. color all the way across. And then I'm going to dilute this color even more. I'm just going to move it to a different section of my palette, add more water to it, because I don't want it quite so strong. It's going to be really strong anyway. And then I can just start bringing it in on these different sections. And I don't even know if any of these ones that are kind of on the edges, if they'll actually even be visible after I die cut, because I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to split up the die cutting yet. But there we go. I'm like dabbing off my brush so it's a little more of a thirsty brush, and then I can come in and kind of pick up some of the areas that I feel are a little too dark. And just like picking up some of that color kind of helps tone it back. All right, moving on to the next color that we're going to color match. It's that red, which we already know kind of matches this red over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that red. Like, why even mess with it, right? All right, I'm going to get that red, and maybe I'll mix it into that orange right here. That is pretty much the red that we're going for. Oh yeah, that's going to be really pretty. It's really close to the orange, but that's how it is on the card. Like, look how close those are. That's crazy, right? It almost feels like there needs to be a little more purple in this. So I might mix just a little bit of purple in it, just to see if I can get it a little bit closer to that red. You know what? I don't like it. I like the brighter red better. Maybe I need to mix it in with a red shade instead of purple. Let's try that. Just getting a puddle of that paint straight from the palette. And then let's add a little bit of this red. I think that'll work. Okay. Coming in with just water, like I did before. My water is a little bit orange tinged now. All right, I'll just bring in a little bit of that red. Just kind of get that moving to the other side. There we go. And then I'm going to bring in that color just in some places to make it a little bit darker. Just dropping this color into all of those spots. All right, I feel like I need a little more red right through here. Maybe a little more right here. All right. All right, I'm so sorry. People always ask me, how do you do a live and not need a bathroom break? I need a bathroom break, guys. I will be right Okay, I'm back. Thank you. I feel much better. And I'm realizing I forgot a little section of that right there too. So let's do that right there. There we go. All right, and then we're going to finish off with the pink color. So this is the color we're aiming for the pink. And here's our swatches. Don't you love that when it does that little bleeding thing? I think it looks so cool. Okay, so for the pink, gosh, how do I want to do this? I'm kind of thinking it looks closest to this color right here. Right here. Like maybe I could tone that just a little bit because it looks like it feels like it has more gray, right? It just feels like there's more gray in this color. And maybe that's the artist in me talking, but like I just go by like what things feel like. I'm going to clean off a little spot on my palette so I can mix up a pink. I just need a nice spot to work with. And we're going to use, let's see, bright pink up 2 from that, so it's this one. And in order to gray out this red, you would use the complementary color. So I'm going to use a teeny tiny bit of green to kind of tone this out and dull out the brightness. So I'm going to grab just a little bit of this green because I still need it to be, well, actually, I think I'll do this green right here. I'm going to get a little bit of that green on my palette over here. Sorry, you guys can't see it. It's off camera. What are you guys talking about? The smiley looks like a ghost? What are we talking about? Are we talking about this little dude? There we go. I have no idea. Smiley ghost pan. Yeah, sorry. Yep, that's the one. I didn't realize that's what you guys were talking about. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit of that green and bring it over into the red. And I'm going to kind of tone it down a little bit. I'm hoping, I don't know, this is going to be hard to get this pink. Oh, you guys were hoping I wouldn't go into the pink ghost pan. Sorry, y'all. Bringing in a little more green. Okay, let's paint this and see if we're anywhere near what I need to be. Okay, so that's really full strength. When I pull it out, does it, oh, we're not far off. When I really dilute it, look how close we are. We're really close actually. Right? Get rid of some of that paint. We're really close. That pink is really nice. I think it just needs a little bit more gray. So I'm going to add more green. Sorry, I didn't know you guys didn't want me to get rid of it. R.I.P. Pink Ghost. All right, I'm going to see if I can get this to fade out. Oh no, I lost the pinkness. Well, that's not quite the color. Well, yeah, we need a little more of the red. Let's see. What other reds could I mix in? I think I'll take this one. I'm losing all the pinkness now. I need more red. Okay, there we go. I just needed to bring in that pinkness back. That's not bad. It almost needs a little purpley. Maybe it needs like a little more of a purple. We'll just mix in a little bit of that purple. I'm running out of space. Let's see. That's pretty spot on when it's diluted. Look at that. That's pretty close. Okay, we're going to go with that. We just have to make sure we don't get it too strong. All right, I'm going to come in with not fully clean water because I'm using that same water cup, same water container. I'm going to bring in this red that turns into pink. See, it just turns into a nice pink. All right, and then I'm going to bring in just a little bit. And I'm going to have to pick up that color so it's not quite as strong, probably for each one of these. This would be a really fun project to do if you're just like kind of experimenting with mixing colors, or even to, you know, help you get to know your color palette of paints. I think it could be a really good project for that. All right, I'm going to do that thing that I did before where I'm kind of drying off my brush and then coming in and just picking up some of that color so that it doesn't stay like super dark, because we don't want it to go so dark that we're back to red. We want it to look more pink, like a rosy pink. Okay, I think that works well. So then when you look back at the card, you've got like the orange, kind of reddish orange, and then the pink. I think that works well. I'm so excited. This is going to be fun. Okay. I'm going to move my watercolors far from my work area so I don't accidentally contaminate anything or tip over paint or who knows what. I'm just going to move it far away. And I will start prepping other aspects of my card while I just let the rest of that air dry, because I think it's going to dry pretty quick. It's almost there already. All right, so we're doing a 5x7 card. Actually, you know what? Let's get rid of the water containers. Since we're trying to be safe and not like spill water everywhere, let's get rid of the water containers before that happens. We're done with all of our painting. Okay. Lori says, how do you know which green to use to tone down the red? I never thought about the fact that each green would give different results. While it's drying, let's talk about that. Okay, so here's my swatches of all my paint colors, right? So the red we were mixing was this one right here. Actually, no. We'll go to, all right, well, let's backtrack a little bit, right? All right, so we're going for this. Oh, it's kind of hard to do without just showing it. Basically, if you come up here and you look at these greens, this one, just kind of feel in your head, does it have more yellow or does it have more blue? Like, how is this green made? Green is made of yellow and blue, but this particular green, does it look like it has more yellow or more blue? And this one has more yellow. It has that like kind of brightness, that bright tone to it. I just go it by like kind of like how I feel, right? This one is like a bright, bright green. I feel like it's like the perfect mix between blue and yellow. Like it's kind of like equal parts. This one over here, notice how like cool toned it is compared to this warmer one. So when we're talking just like warm or cool, this is a cooler green than this green, which is more warm. So when you're trying to decide what, like if I was trying to tone a red color and I was bringing in a green to tone it, I don't know. Sometimes you just have to experiment. But for me, like I just start to think like, okay, like let's say I was trying to, well, let's see. I'm trying to think of a really good example. We needed to tone the yellow, right? I only have one purple in my palette, so that was easy. I'm trying to think here. This is hard. So, okay, so this red right here, I was thinking it was that, but I felt like it needed to be toned down just a little bit. It needed to maybe have a little purple or something like that. Like, let's compare these two. Do you see how they're really, really similar, but one just feels a little bit different than the other. And we're aiming for this one. Notice this one kind of has a saturation and brightness to it, where this one has more of a softness. And a lot of times that just comes from adding a little bit of gray. So in order to get gray, you mix complementary colors. So if we want to add a little bit of gray to red, we would add a little bit of green, because the green and red mix and make gray. So we're going to go ahead and just add the green in. Instead of mixing a separate gray, we're just going to add the green in. So as far as like what green kind of feels like it, you can kind of, I don't know, it's hard to figure it out, but I'm like, okay, which green kind of feels more like it would go with this red? And just going from feeling, I felt like this one, like they both kind of have that same dullness to them, as opposed to this bright. Like this green is super bright. Like I wouldn't want to mix that in, because that would introduce a brightness to the red we're trying to mix. So instead, I'm going to pick a green that already has a little bit of that grayish tone that we're trying to get with the red color we're mixing. I have no idea if any of that makes sense. I do not remember much about color mixing in my art classes in college. So I just go off instinct, and you know, exactly what I did today. I'll mix, test, not quite right, mix again, test, not quite right, mix again. Just like trial and error. So it really just, you know, I guess I could have just saved myself some time on this whole little spiel and just said trial and error. Because that's essentially what I do. But I also just go off like how I feel, like how the colors kind of feel to me. Lori says, over my head, I have a hard time seeing colors within colors, then warm and cool colors. Wow. Yeah, it's hard. Like to like figure out like, okay, is this warm? Is this cool? Sometimes I have to see colors in comparison to each other. Like this color right here, this green, if it was isolated and all I was seeing was that green, I don't know. I'm like, is it cool? Is it warm? What is it? When it's in comparison to this green next to it, I'm like, oh yeah, totally. That one's warmer. This one's cooler. I can see it in my head because it feels like there's just more blue in this green, you know? Yeah. Cindy says it takes practice, practice, practice. Also, a color wheel helps. Yes, a color wheel always helps. And even if you have like a color wheel in your head, like I have one in my head, it's always good to have one like to look at and reference as well. All right, is our watercolor paper dry yet? Ooh, it is so close. It's cool to the touch on the back, so I know it's not completely dry. So I'm gonna let that continue drying, and I'll get out my card base and we'll work on our greeting. Apparently we're going into a color theory lesson today. I didn't plan on it. If I was planning on it, I probably would have researched a little more and had some more visual aids. All right, here's our card base and our stamp set. Now that I'm thinking how, like seeing how pretty those colors are, I don't want to like cover up like too much of the color with my greeting. So maybe we'll do a vellum greeting and then, yeah, I like that idea. We'll do maybe gold embossed on vellum and then the subgrading, which is a whole lot smaller, so we need to make sure it's legible. We'll have the subgrading be on white. Okay, let's do, you know, I don't know what like reason I'll be using this card, so I think I want something that's a little more generic. So I'm thinking, there are no words, I'm here for you. How about that? Like, hey friend, I'm here for you, no matter what you're going through. So let's do that. I'm gonna grab some vellum. My vellum is across the room. I'm just grabbing some SSS stamp vellum, and I'm gonna cut down a smaller piece and then put it right back in its storage pocket, because I don't need the full sheet. I don't know myself. If I don't put it back in the storage pocket now, it probably will stay in my craft room out on my desk for 10 years. Okay, so I've got a little bit of vellum. Pamela, the watercolors I used today are Magello Mission Gold. Alrighty. I'm going to cut that into a smaller piece. And there are matching dies for this, so I should be able to die cut this when I'm done. Okay. There are no words. Using an anti-static powder tool just across that vellum. And then I'll use Versamark ink once again. And it's really easy to like squish your clear stamps on top of vellum and get like thicker words than what's actually on the stamp. So I very lightly, wow, I have this bird light in my craft room. Where is that coming from? The sun's setting, that's what's happening. The sun's setting behind me. Actually, is it the magnet? It's the magnet. Oh, that's crazy. Look at that. It's the reflection of the magnet coming through the back of the vellum. Sorry. Squirrel, easily distracted. Using my white embossing powder. Oh no, we were gonna do gold. Gold embossing powder. Add that on top. Ooh, I did not get a good stamp on that. I really did not get a good stamp. Good thing I have some extra vellum I can use, right? Let's restamp that. And I haven't even removed it from my Misty yet. Let's restamp. Maybe I'll stamp it twice just to be safe this time. Really make sure I'm pressing that down, but not too much. Oh, let's see, how does that look? That actually looks lots better. I don't think I need to stamp it a second time. All right. And I'll just use my heat tool. Lovely. I'm like, that's so distracting. I gotta move it out of the way. All right, and then while I've got my Misty out, I'm going to do the little subgrading that I'm here for you. And I don't know in the stamp set if that one has a die that cuts it out. Oh, I bet it totally does. Perfect. Okay. I just didn't know how far I needed to have it away from the edge of the cardstock, you know? Okay. A little bit of anti-static powder tool. Versamark ink. And then stamp that down. And then gold embossing powder. This is gilded embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. And I'll heat set this with my heat tool. So just until it's melted, put that back on my stamp sheet. And now we're going to do a bunch of die cutting. Let's check our watercolor piece. Is it dry? You know what? It's close. I'm going to use my heat tool, and this is the dual heat tool from Wow, and it has a low and a high setting. So I'm going to put it on the low setting and just keep it moving because I don't want to remelt my embossing powder from earlier. So I'm going to keep it on the low setting. I just want to make sure it's completely dry. The stamp set, let me get it in here, it's called Checking In. Hold on, let me move this back over here. Okay, Checking In, there you go. Okay, that's feeling much more dry now. I love that. Seriously, direct color palette. Awesome. All right, move on to the die cutting. And I'm gonna have to take a minute and separate out these dies after I figure out which one is which. Okay, there are no words. That one. Yep, that's the one. So these are die snips from Lawn Fawn. Alrighty. And then we have the I'm Here For You, single line. That one's too short. It's got to be that one. I love kind of like I Spy puzzles, so I love trying to figure out what die, what die I'm supposed to be using. Okay. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna cut that in half, and I'm gonna do a double layer of vellum before I die cut it. And I think since this will be skinny enough that I can just put this through my Xyron little X sticker machine thing. Okay, this little guy. Ta-da! So I'll just put that through and then pull this other end. And the reason why I like to use my Xyron for this is because it applies an even layer of adhesive all on that vellum. And then when I go to adhere it to my card, there won't be any vellum showing. going to take this off. I'll put that right down top of this, and it's kind of hanging off the edge, so I'm just going to cut that off so I don't have a sticky bit going through my die cutting machine. And then we'll get this on here. And that should cut the vellum without any problem. This one, I have no idea. Okay, I think it is this way. Yeah, that fits better. Sorry for my head in the way. All right. Where did I put my, there it is. Hey, Jennifer. Hello, Jennifer. Oh, that looks perfect. Get rid of that. Those die snips. And then now we have, oh, that's great. That's perfect. That's not going to run into all of our little squares. You love your jammies? I bought Jennifer pajamas. Yay, they're so comfy. All right, so now I'm going to cut out all of the squares. And I'm going to have to do this one at a time because I only have that one die, remember? Wherever that die walked off to. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, die? There it is. Okay. All right, so we can just kind of get a section that looks nice. And we'll just run this through. Oh, I love that. All right, we're going to go on to the pale green, which is probably right up Jennifer's alley. And then a yellow. I miss my Jennifer. Jennifer and I will see each other in person in a few weeks, thankfully. It's always good to have a visit on the books, you know? All right, we'll come to this little orange square. And then we'll do the red square. All right, we got that one. Those look really similar now, don't they? And then we've got the pink square. Oh, I love that color palette. It's so pretty. And I really love the cutout of all of them too. Okay. Now it's just a matter of assembling our card. So here's our card base. And I just have to figure out exactly how I want these on the card. Like what order I want them in, you know? I think that could be really pretty. And then I'm going to put their honor words, and I'm here for you. Although now I'm questioning it. Maybe I don't want those right on top of that. Maybe I'm going to change this up a little bit. Maybe I need to have them with no spaces in between them, all the way up against each other, and then I can just have this down at the bottom. You know, like maybe that looks better. I'm trying to decide. There's also, I could rotate it and maybe have these up against the edge. That leaves me a little more space over here. Oh, I kind of like that. Very modern looking. I like that. And I can still have them just a little bit apart from each other. And I think the spacing could still work. I like that. I probably could have put my gold greetings directly on the card front. And now I'm debating if I want to do that. I think I better. There's no need for them to be like that. Okay. I'm going to get these adhered, and then I'll do my greetings again. Because they don't need to be popped up. All right. Actually, I think I can just cut a bunch of these. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Now we can just pick these up and apply them where I want them. Sophie! Sophie's down there singing the song of her people again. Let's see here. Sophie! Gonna get out a ruler, just like a T-square ruler, so I can kind of bring this in on this edge and just make sure I keep these lined up just right. This has a very MCM vibe. MCM as in what? I'm confused. Okay. Sophie. Oh, Molly, I do. I do have babies in my house. There are 2 of them. And they're 15 and 17 years old. In cat years, that's probably like, I think they're like in their 80s. Okay. Oh, mid-century modern. Yeah, I would agree with that. Very clean and simple, I'd say. Kathy Zilski would love this card. No offense, Kathy. I hope I don't need to send it to you, because this is kind of a sympathy-ish card, so I hope I don't need to send it to you. Okay. And then we'll do this one like this. Just kind of getting that lined up just right. Okay. I just had, I'm like, please say I put it on the card the right direction. I did. No worries. Okay. So now I'm going to stamp my greetings again. And to help me get them positioned just right, I'm going to grab one of these grid transparency sheets from SSS Stamp. And not only will it give me a nice line to make sure I have my greetings on there right, but I used these stamps before and there might be some residual Versamark on them. And this will make it so that I don't get any Versamark smudges on my card. Okay, I'm lining this up right at the bottom there. I'm going to slide that over just a little bit. A little more centered, and then I'm going to slide this one over so it's a little more centered as well. Just being super picky. Pick those up. Okay. The plastic grid is a transparency grid sheet from SSS Stamp. All right, anti-static powder tool. And then we stamp. I just touched it. Let's put more powder down just to be safe. That stamp was looking crooked. We'll see if it's actually straight or not. All right. Did I get it all on there? I hope I did. Success. I was worried there for a minute. And it's actually straight. Yay! All right. I'm gonna make sure my heat tool is really hot before I go in. All right. A little bit of heat, move. A little bit of heat. I'm going to get it from the back too. I'm trying to not warp the cardstock. Okay, it warped just a tiny bit, but not bad. In fact, I'm going to try to straighten it out as it cools. Yeah, not bad. It just warped just a tiny bit right there. That's not so bad. That's one reason to not do the embossed green directly on your card base. Like it might have been smarter to do it and then like on a regular card front and then adhere it to a card base, because then you have an opportunity to straighten it out and get it a little more flat. All right, well, that is the card for tonight. That's the color palette. That turned out so cute, even better than I thought it would. I'm very happy with how that turned out. Look how dang cute. I love it so much. And this was a good way to use like a color palette that might be a little bit intimidating because there are 6 colors, not just like 4, which is generally what I try to work with. It's just like 4 colors. But anyway, I'm excited. I really like how that turned out. So anyway, just a reminder that, well, first I'm going to give a spiel to those watching the edit replay. The edit replay will go up tomorrow. So here are the 2 cards, or not the 2 cards, hello. Start over again. So here's the finished card for tonight's live stream. I think having 6 isolated little paintings with 1 color on each is a great way to use a somewhat larger color palette with 6 colors. I think that worked out well. And I love how this looks. It's so clean and simple. It turned out really, really well and pretty quick in comparison to some other projects. So I love how theirs turned out. Just a reminder that there are those 2 links down below to upcoming classes. We've got the Hero Arts Spring Stamp Along and happening in April, and registration is open right now. And then we also have the Pink Fresh card event that's in August. And if you're watching the edited replay, they might have already closed registration. But if you're watching live right now, it's still open, I think, through midnight tonight. So you can go over and click and sign up for that. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in another Color Month video very soon. Thanks for watching. All right. So I'm sure I missed some fun shenanigans in the chat. Andrea is always really good about answering questions if she can. So big thanks to Andrea. Thanks, Sika. Thanks to all who love this card. I think it's, you know, why not, right? Beth, why do I ever think I don't know about this one? I'm an idiot, ha. You know what though? Sometimes if things just don't look good until they, you know, start. You know, I just noticed these are the exact same designs. I want to pick one up and rotate it. Do I dare? Ha! It hadn't fully adhered yet. Okay, I think it will look better like that. That won't bug me as much. Too funny. All right, let's see here. Anita says, how did you name Sophie and Daphne? Did you just like the names or were they significant? Well, I got Sophie and Daphne when they were 8 and 6, and those were the names they already had. So I just kept them because, I mean, they were used to the names, so why not? They respond to their names, so worked out. Yassel, maybe that's how you say your name, says, what is the name of, or what is the size of your card base? This is a 5x7 card base. Okay. Beth, I answered this, but just in case, Beth asked, what is the plastic grid? Again, please. It is the transparency grid sheet. Hold on, I think I have one that's in its packaging. From Simon Says Stamp. Yeah, I've got a couple of them because I love them so much. It's the Grid Transparency from Simon Says Stamp. I love them and I use them all the time. Okay. Let's see here. How many of you are wondering if Sarah Renae Clark is wondering why she has sold so many color cubes this month? Well, she did message me on Instagram and she said, it's so fun seeing what you're doing with the color cube this month. So she's aware. I've been tagging her on Instagram. Let's see here. Let's see here. Beth says, yes, love it. I'm ready to do some heat emboss resist with watercolor now. Go for it. I think it's one of those techniques that even if you're not a big watercoloring person, it's one that you can really rock, you know, because especially this, like there was really not much watercolor technique involved except for the mixing of colors. And if you just found some ink pads that are similar shades, you could just squish the ink pad onto a slick surface and pick it up with a damp brush, and then you're painting. So there's a lot of really easy ways to do this particular technique. Carrie Henry is asking about a stamp set. Let me show it to you again. It is from Simon Says Stamp. It's one that I designed. Hold on, let me grab the packaging. So it is the Checking In stamp set. In fact, I need to move my dies to the back. Sometimes for stamp sets that I can't really see what's happening, if I have the dies behind the stamp, I'll put it in the back of the pocket, and then I can put the stamp in front, and then you can actually see all of the greetings and everything. So this is the Checking In stamp set. Okay. La, la, la. Oh, thank you. Yes, I put up a video tutorial on how I painted my nails like this. I painted them last Thursday. So this is, what's it, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This is day 4. And just like all of my other Dazzle Dry manicures, no chips, nothing. It works so well. But I love that. I love that manicure. I kind of don't want to take it off because I've just loved it so much. It's one of those ones where I'm like, I could keep that on for ages. Sarah says, really love the finished card. Thanks, Sarah. That's sweet. Carrie just had a heart attack when the Christina Werner said my name. Well, hey, you're in the chat. Andrea checked the pricing on the color cube, and it's about $40 if you buy them individually. If you buy both, it's $67. Yvonne's asking if I designed the stamp set. I did. I did design this stamp set. So I really thought about the greetings, how you could pair them together. Because I love to do that on cards, is to have like 2 greetings like I did today where it says there are no words, I'm here for you. So there's a lot of like larger ones, and then you can pair it with a smaller one. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but the printing on my stamp sheet, it looks like the printing got smudged, so it looks a little strange. The words and the type are not quite so blobby. But yeah, like I'm grieving with you, so loved, so missed, feel better soon, sending hope and healing. And then just like sending hugs, you're in my thoughts, or I'm so very sorry for your loss. Just a lot of ones that can go, you know, together. And then I just like the, hey, just checking in. Because sometimes you just want to send a card to someone and it's not for any particular reason. You're just checking in. You just want to make sure they're good. So some good greetings for stuff like that. This design would look lovely on the Wallflower postage collage set. Yes! Such a great way to use a color palette like this. That would be a great way to use some color inspiration. Absolutely. Let's see here. Scrolling back to see if I missed anyone. Oh, Luscious Label says, I love this design and will definitely give it a try. Yes, absolutely. And then earlier, OMG, yes, I was just going to comment about them being the same. Yeah, these 2 right here that I didn't notice until the last minute. Too funny. Hi, Molly. There we go. Oh, Debbie says, I dozed off for a minute, I think, and when I came back, you were embossing your sentiments directly onto the card. What happened with your die-cut sentiments? Well, once I changed up the card design, I realized I didn't need to have the sentiments die-cut, and that I kind of liked it without the vellum behind it and having that popped up. I mean, I think you could still do that, but it just seems a little bit simpler just to have the greetings directly on the card front. Okay. Oh, thank you, Kelly. This is a great card layout. Would never have thought of the concept, and it's stunning. Thank you. It worked out well. I'm surprised I haven't done something like this for Color Month yet, so it's about time we did. Love it. Liz says, how many stamp sets do you design each month? Is there always a direction you need to go, or just what you feel? It depends. For the most part, I'm usually designing a stamp set for the SSS Stamp Monthly Card Kit. Sometimes they pull in other stamps that have been designed and they're like, oh, this would make a great kit. So sometimes they bring in other people's stamp sets, but I would say maybe 9 months out of the year are stamps that I've designed for the card kit. So at minimum, there's usually those. And then for other releases, I don't know, it's anywhere from like 2 to 3 stamp sets. But it really just depends. Like, it's hard to describe. We don't design for specific releases because with manufacturing delays and things like that, it's just hard to know if things are going to get to the SSS Stamp Warehouse in time for a release. So as far as I know, they like to wait until they have the product in-house, until they have all the product from the manufacturer before they decide, okay, yes, this is going into our next release. So it really just depends. Sometimes I design, 2 to 3 months, and then maybe there's a delay, and then suddenly I've got 5 in one release. It just really depends. Watercolor brush number 6. Yes, I believed, did I change it? I may have changed. Yeah, I think it was a 6. I did use a size 6 brush. Gina, I'm going to win the Powerball Lotto tonight. So when I do, color cubes and stamp sets for everyone. LOL. Doing it for the people, Gina. Love that. Oh, yes. Cindy says this technique could make a great rainbow card. Yes, absolutely. Or even you could change it up where it's like narrow strips for the different colors instead of the squares. That could be really, really cute too. Yvette, I was worried about that too. But I also knew that I could most likely peel up the squares and move them to a different card base. For the most part, I find that the 3M foam adhesive, like what I use today, it sticks, but it's really not like permanent until you really, really press it down. And also, I think over time, it sticks down more. So like I was able to peel this up and it was okay. And also when it adheres watercolor paper, because the watercolor paper has a texture, it doesn't stick quite as strongly as well. So I knew I would probably have the opportunity to peel up the squares if I needed to. Let's see here. Just scrolling down. Off-topic question. How does your husband give you cards? Does he create or steal from one you already made? He makes his own. And if he doesn't use my craft room to make it, like when I'm not in here or something, I want to say, was it for Valentine's Day? Yeah, I think it was for Valentine's Day. He actually went to the store and bought a card. And then he like drew on it and like created it and customized it. And I was like, what's happening with this card? When I opened it, and he's like, well, I had to make it handmade for you. I'm like, valid. Barb is asking, are the companion catalogs necessary to get the most out of the cubes? I don't think so. I think if you are really big on coloring, the companions are helpful because it's going to give you just straight up cues on what colors to use, like for your Prismacolor pencils or for your Faber-Castell or for your Copics or whatever. It's going to just tell you what colors match most closely to the colors that are on the color cube cards. But I mean, I think you could also just do that on your own. It'll just take a little bit extra time. You could also color match that on your own. Let's see here. Gina says, no, you can enjoy the cubes without companion. Yes, that's basically what I was saying. But I do love a companion. Typically search there, then grab the cards to take to my work area. Perfect. Yeah, great. There's a lot of different ways to use the color cubes. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up for the night. It's been a little over 90 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me. Just a reminder for those of you watching live that there are those 2 online events or classes that I'm teaching at coming up. In April, we've got the Hero Arts Spring Stamp Along. I think it's only $45 and you're going to get, gosh, is it like 6 classes, maybe 8? I can't remember. There's a lot. And they're lots of fun, and they really encourage you to use what product you have on hand. And then there is the Pink Fresh card event in August, and they have a really great lineup with instructors over there as well. I believe they've teamed up with Spellbinders for a special class. So if you sign up for that Pink Fresh class, you'll get mostly Pink Fresh products, and then you'll also get some Spellbinders products, which is really kind of fun. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. This was Color Month 2024, Day 7. And I'll be back on Wednesday with Day 8. Thanks so much for joining me. And I'll see you guys in the next one.